Dear students, I have come with a new module, how we can compute range. So we know that range is a measure of dispersion and how we are going to compute that. So if you see that explanation for range, what is range? So this is the simplest measure of studying the dispersion. This is very easy and it's very practical also we will be using in our everyday life. So the difference between the largest item and the smallest item is known as range. Say for example, the highest temperature in Bangalore for today and the lowest temperature. So we will get a difference. So that is how we will use range. It has got lot of practical application. Or the highest price quoted for a share in a stock exchange today and the lowest price. So that we will get a difference. That is the implication of range. Now range is defined as the difference between two extreme items of the distribution. So range, two extreme items meaning always the largest item and the smallest item. So range is calculated using the equation L minus S. L is equal to largest item and S is equal to smallest item. So range is a relative measure. Now the absolute measure we have to remember coefficient of range. L minus S divided by L plus S. This is how we are going to do the computation. So computation of range, all the computations we will divide into three. One is individual observation, second is discrete series and third is continuous series. So individual observation, if you'll see, from the given values, the difference between the largest and smallest values will be given by the range. So the values of x 42, 47, 54, 64, 72, 94, 96 and 45. So the largest value is 96 and the smallest value is 42. So range is equal to 96 minus 42, that is equal to 54. Now coefficient of range L minus S divided by L plus S. So we can substitute the values in the equation. Coefficient of range is equal to 96 minus 42 divided by 96 plus 42. So that is 0.3913. Now if you calculate for discrete series, it has got its own limitations. You have to remember that for a discrete series, usually values of x and frequency values will be there. But here we have one important limitation, that is frequency values are ignored. We will just concentrate on values of x. So discrete series frequency values are not considered for computation. So calculation is based only on x values. So the given frequency distribution, x values are there and f values are there. 43 frequency is 100, 64 105, 78 91, 96 82, 100 61, 150 32, 230 70, 240 88 and 261 67. So range is equal to L minus S, that is 261 minus 43, that is equal to 218. Now coefficient of range is L minus S divided by L plus S. So substituting the values in the equation, we will get 261 minus 43 divided by 261 plus 43, that is 218 divided by 304, that is equal to 0.7171. Now if you see for continuous series, in continuous series also range is calculated by taking the difference between lower limit of the lowest class and upper limit of the highest class. We have to remember that frequency values are completely ignored in the computation. So this is main limitation of computation of range. So the wages in rupees 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 and 50 to 60. Number of workers 8, 10, 12, 8 and 4. So we will not use number of workers in the computation. 10 is the lower limit of the lowest class, that is 10. 60 is the higher value for the highest class. So our computation will be based on 10 and 60. So lower limit of the lowest class is 10, upper limit of the highest class is 60. So range is equal to L minus S, that is 60 minus 10, that is 50. Coefficient of range is L minus S divided by L plus S, that is equal to 60 minus 10 divided by 60 plus 10, that is 50 by 70, that is equal to 0.7143. Now the merits of range. Range is simple to understand. Anybody can calculate this, just taking the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. So it's very easy to compute. So anybody can compute that. There is not much complicated computations involved in this. So if one is interested in getting a quick rather than a very accurate picture of variability, one may compute range. What is the highest difference between the variation in temperature, variation in stock prices? You can get a quick reply or a quick response by looking at the range. Now limitations of range. range is not based on each and every item of the distribution. Not only each and every item of the distribution, frequency values are completely ignored. That is the main limitation of computation of range. Now, range is affected by extreme values in the series because computation is based on lowest value and the highest value. Now, range cannot be computed for open-ended classes because we want the lower limit of the lowest class or upper limit of the highest class. If these classes are not defined, we cannot calculate the range. Now, range is highly affected by sampling fluctuations. Sampling fluctuations will affect the totally, and then if sampling fluctuations we doubt, then we cannot use range. Now, range is not a stable value. It can change because just two values, the highest and the lowest values we are taking, ignoring frequency values, and we are taking range. So, it's not a accepted computation or a better statistical computation. Now, range computation is not based on composition of the series. Composition of the series, the frequency values are completely ignored. Only the lower value and the higher value we are concentrating. Now, range is useful in studying variations in the prices of range, prices of shares, stock, gold, jewelry, etc. Now we are talking about the uses of range. Why, if range has got its own limitations? We have seen the limitations. Now what can be the uses of range? Why we are learning range? So we are using share prices variation, stock, gold, jewelry, all this immediate variation we are using range. Now in weather forecast, range is used to determine the difference between minimum and maximum temperature on a particular day. So the minimum temperature and maximum temperature, always we will see in the news telecast also they will give that because we will get an idea. Then range is used in industry for statistical quality control of the manufactured product at regular intervals. Rejection rate we can find out. So that always they will use the range, what all the accepted quantity and whatever the rejected quantity. So the range they will always calculate. So that is these are the uses of range. So even if it has got its own limitations, due to the uses, the range measure of variation is very useful in the day-to-day life, and it has got its own practical application also. So this is what I want to explain. Thank you.